Good evening. Welcome to a council meeting. This is November the 25th, and we could stand. Mr. Zuber is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The roll call.
Mr. Arnold.
Here.
Mrs. Fenderbach.
Here.
Ms. Gentry.
Here.
Mr. Koss.
Here.
Mr. Shamir.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Zuber.
Here.
Mayor Spetzel.
Here.
Law Director Ebert.
Here.
Public Works Director Litzkovic.
Here.
Thank you. Tonight we have a very special event. We're going to have a resolution of gratitude and appreciation for Martin O'Donnell, our former council president, and I would like for Mrs. Ross Marin to read it in full. Thank you.
A resolution of gratitude and appreciation for Martin E. O'Donnell. Whereas the Avon Lake City Council wishes to express its gratitude and appreciation to Martin O'Donnell for more than 21 years of dedicated service to the city of Avon Lake. And whereas Martin O'Donnell served on City Council from April 9th, 2001 to December 31st, 2001, and from May 1st, 2003 to September 3rd, 2024, and he served as council president for 13 years. And whereas during his tenure on City Council, Martin O'Donnell served as chair of the Finance Committee and chair of the Public Service Committee and was a member of the Economic Development Committee, Environmental Committee, Finance Committee, Human Resources Committee, Safety Committee, Sewer Committee, and the Walker Road Park Ad Hoc Committee, and served as the council representative for the Parks and Recreation Commission. And whereas these years of service have been marked by exemplary dedication to the best interests of the city of Avon Lake. And whereas through the performance of his duties and responsibilities as member of City Council, Martin O'Donnell has made excellent and constructive contributions to municipal government in the city of Avon Lake. And whereas Martin O'Donnell has earned the admiration and high regard of those with whom he has come into contact and of his fellow public servants. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Avon Lake, State of Ohio, 1, that Council does on behalf of the citizens of Avon Lake extend its gratitude and appreciation to Martin O'Donnell for his distinguished service to the city of Avon Lake and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out the duties and responsibilities of the office of City Council. And 2, that the Clerk of Council shall include this resolution in the minutes of this meeting, and she is hereby requested to transmit a copy of this resolution to Martin O'Donnell.
Thank you. I'm going to have a few words. We're going to have fellow council people speak. I'm going to be inviting Mr. O'Donnell up to the podium, and then we're going to go through the formal part of having a motion for the resolution. This is really council's way to thank and acknowledge Martin O'Donnell, who we call Marty, for all his years of service and contributions to the Avon Lake community. Marty started with the city in April of 2001, as has been stated. Marty was appointed to council and served until December 31st, 2001. He was then appointed in May of 2003 and elected thereafter as council at large. He was not a stranger to public service, having served 12 years on the Lakewood City School Board, with 3 of those years as president. His dedication to the Avon Lake community spans over 2 decades. Notable accomplishments include the following: organizing a petition drive to have a county tax increase placed on the ballot for voters to decide. The tax increase was rescinded. Establishing the Avon Lake City Dog Park at Weiss Field. Through his leadership, the Business Navigation Ad Hoc Committee was developed, from which the Community Development Department was created. Through his commitment, the summer concert series in the park began. He organized the Avon Lake Community Council, which is made up of 24 organizations that interact with each other and the community. In addition, Marty is the recipient of the David C. Sweet Award from the Cleveland State University's Leadership Academy. Marty also demonstrated leadership in conducting the business of the City Council. overseeing the various committee tasks and agendas, and always making the welfare of the city and the residents the priority. His demeanor in controversial situations was calm and focused. He routinely brought a dignified influence as city council president, and I thank you for that. His family's here, and who else would like to say something with their memories of Marty?
I'll go
Mr.
first.
Cos?
I'll go first, thank you. So I had the absolute pleasure of serving alongside Marty O'Donnell for almost 16 years here on City Council. And when I started, I was about as green could be. And I was so lucky to have somebody as experienced as Marty, who was not yet the council president. Mr. Zilka, who would become our mayor, was the council president at that time. And to have those two gentlemen be the ones that would be able to take in this young green, brand new council person who didn't know up from down or left from right, and help guide them in the way that the city works in the process to get things done and get things accomplished. It was invaluable. And as Mrs. Fenderbosch said, Marty was always one that looked to build consensus, but he also wasn't afraid to speak his mind and be in the minority vote as well too. He had a great deal of experience, he had a great deal of patience, and he worked, especially when he became the council president, he really worked to build that consensus and to work with each member of council to get their thoughts on a controversial issue and try to build towards a unified vote. People would always say, well, all your votes are always 7-0. Well, it doesn't get that way by accident. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And a lot of that work was performed by Marty to talk to people, to try to figure out what they could vote yes on and how they could all come together for a single vote if possible. So losing Marty is a big blow to City Council. There's a ton of experience that we lost, but I'm so happy for him and Holly and the family that they're gonna have the opportunity to vacation more, take more trips. I know you guys went right away. You hopped on the first plane out of here and went to Ireland, I think, or something like that. We got a text that first Monday that you were already in a Irish pub or tavern. So good for you. I hope that you guys do a lot more of that. Marty, your legacy here in the city is set. And I really appreciate all you did for me personally and also for the city. So thank you, Marty.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Mr. Arnold?
No, much like David, I came in with not having a clue what I was doing 7 years ago, and Marty, with your leadership, the last 7 years that I was on council with you, meant the world to me. We didn't agree on everything, but your level-headedness and your great leadership style really helped council over the years, and it's not always easy up here, as we all know, and so we appreciate the effort you put forth in helping out Avon Lake.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Shamir.
Well, Mr. O'Donnell, I did not have a pleasure of serving with you that long, but I will start from the other side of the council table. And I would say that for the 2 years that I dealt with you, you were the voice of reason. You were the person that actually reached out and tried to listen. So I thank you for that approach to dialogue. And from that point on, for the 6-7 months that I had the pleasure of serving with you, you again were that voice of reason. And I thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shamir. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Marty, I just want to say thank you for all the service that you did provide to the city of Avon Lake over those years. I have some pretty big shoes to fill sitting up here in this particular seat. And I look forward to serving the citizens, but following in your footsteps and relying upon you when I call you, which you've been very gracious in talking to me about things. And I thank you, and I wish you nothing but the best of health in your retirement. Thanks again.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Gentry.
So Marty, I also didn't get a chance to work with you very long, but you were very helpful. Even before I was elected into council, you helped me because I didn't know anything about council, but I didn't know anything about campaigning either. So, so Marty did help me figure out a plan and helped when I got here to settle in and learn what I needed to do to get things done. So I appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
When I came over as law director, he was very, very welcome, as far as, and I would meet with the mayor, Marisylka, and Marty on every Thursday before the council meeting on Monday to go through agenda. He was very thorough, knew his stuff, was also very compassionate as far as his job, as far as council president. And I know that from the standpoint of making sure we had meetings that were there, what time the meetings would be, and the amount of thoroughness he does as far as looking through everything before the council meeting. And it's just been a pleasure working with you, Marty. We miss you and wish you all success, you and your wife, going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Zuber?
Yeah. Back, I don't even think you were living here yet, Marty. I got a call from the mayor of Lakewood. Got my name through the then treasurer of the Ohio Republican Party, who was then the county chairman, who he had known, and he said, there's this guy coming to Avon Lake, Marty O'Donnell, would you mind talking to him? So I said, yeah, sure. So Marty and I had plenty of talks, and sometimes we had our disagreements, but I always like telling that story, getting a call from the mayor of Lakewood that there's this guy moving to Avon Lake, and he's going to be a good guy when he gets there. So,
Thank you for sharing that story. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Marty, I know it's uncomfortable you sit here and listen to everybody talk about you, because that's not the guy you are, right? You're a humble guy. But, it's difficult, I think, for council and the administration and the community to kind of lose the knowledge and experience and leadership that Marty has provided. In 2020, when I was considering applying for the vacant council position, the opportunity to work with Marty was one of the deciding factors that made me put my hat in the ring. So thank you for that. And then over the next 3 years, Marty was my mentor. I leaned on him to help navigate through being what it meant to be a councilman, as we all have. He gave me great advice, he supported me, and helped me to get to where I am today, so I greatly appreciate that. In life, I think it's important to have mentors, and I've been privileged to have Marty as one of my mentors. Marty has served this council and the community with integrity and dedication, and we as a community and we as an administration and a council are better for it. And behind every successful man or woman is a loyal and devoted spouse, Holly. And to recognize Holly, my wife and I would like to present you with a thank you for your support of Marty over all these years. And I want to wish Marty and Holly all the best in retirement. And thank you for your many years of dedicated and professional service to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a former mayor here who would like to speak also.
Greg Zoka, 516 Matera Court. Am I supposed to say that? It's been a great honor to work with Marty O'Donnell, and I was trying to think what few things I could say out of the many things he's accomplished. Certainly the community council was a very good thing to do, and we've gotten a lot of wonderful input from that. This man is very compassionate and understanding of people, and I attribute it to the women in his life. Not only his dear wife Holly and his 3 daughters, but also his mother. His mother was an angel. She was just an amazing person, and she kept him in the straight and narrow. He grew up in Parma, and you know how Parma could be. So I grew up in Birdtown and Lakewood and also Avon, so I understand Parma a little bit. But anyway, he's a great guy, and Avon Lake is really lucky to have benefited from all his talents and all his compassion. He is, I don't want to talk about was, he is a very fair-minded individual, and he's made Avon Lake what it is today, so I appreciate all the efforts on his part. Thank you.
Mayor. Anyone else here? There's some others that are here in the audience that would like to speak with Marty. Marty, would you like to come up and say a few words?
After all those compliments, I don't know what to say. I want to thank council, and I want to thank the mayor and Valerie for putting this all together tonight and taking the time to do that. I know you guys have a busy schedule and a lot going on with that, so I appreciate that. And also want to thank the service with the Mayor Zilka when we worked together for 12 years. I've been fortunate to work with Mark and Greg in the mayorship role, and with Gary, and certainly with Valerie and the rest of the council members. And I've been fortunate to work with, throughout my 21 years in Avon Lake, a lot of good council people that you all know, that some have served with. We've been fortunate to have good councils here over my period of time here, where we would have a debate on an issue and maybe a disagreement, as been mentioned, but that didn't affect us in going to the next issue. We kept out of the personalities of it, and I think we've been blessed by that throughout the years. That's always been a real good thing, and I think the leadership style had a lot to do with that as well. I want to thank everybody that came down this evening to take the time to come here. I certainly, as I gave my, when I resigned, I want to thank my wife and my kids. This is like 30-some years of elected, which means, you guys all know about the meetings, the times you're away from your family, the meetings you can't make, or the parties you couldn't make. So there's a lot of time spent in there that you wouldn't know unless you're sitting in those seats, if you do the job right from that aspect of it. So I do want to appreciate my wife, that she had to deal with through that. And a couple of the phone calls she's gotten that probably weren't the most pleasant, but she dealt with them anyhow with that. But one of the things is the dedication of your family. You couldn't do this if your wife wasn't dedicated to to this role. You wouldn't be able to do this role in that art. So I want to thank everybody for that. I also want to thank the people in Avon Lake who continually put me in for 21 years. Their allegiance to putting me back in office that many times is certainly an honor. I always thought public life was kind of a situation where people vote for you. They may know you, but a lot of times they don't know who you are. They pick a piece of literature, they hear something with that. And then when you get elected, you have that responsibility to move the city forward and to carry that responsibility that these people gave you, which is probably one of the more important things, because they've got their family here, they've got their most important investment, their home, their education, the whole process here, and they put it in your hands, and they expect you to do the right thing and move forward to it. So I always consider that in public life probably one of the more responsible things that you're handed with, and one of the more things that you have to be sure that you follow up on with that. But I know the future of a lot of different issues that you're dealing with here in Avon Lake is going to be great by the time this is all accomplished, with the power plant and the Alps and the town center. So a lot of great things going on, and there's a lot to look forward to for the residents of Avon Lake. So again, I do want to thank you all, much appreciative, and thanks for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Can't leave without a gift.
It's not meowing or cooing, so I think it's safe. Thank you very much. This is from all of council. And do you want to hold it from the bottom?
Sure.
There you go. Okay, very good. Thank you, Marty.
Should I open it up, or
You can go right ahead, you can open it.
Just have to untie the bow.
did I what?
You can just
Set a table there and untie a bow.
Put it on the table.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, very nice. Go right on the menu. Thank you very much. Very thoughtful.
You're welcome. Now we're going to take care of the formalities here. I move that resolution number 24-178, a resolution of gratitude and appreciation for Marty E. O'Donnell. Suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings. Mrs. Rossmarin?
Mr. Zuber?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Thank you. I move for passage of resolution number 24-178. And we certainly do have gratitude and appreciation for Marty E. O'Donnell. And this is the Monday before Thanksgiving, and how appropriate to have thanks for you and for all that you've done for the community. Thank you. Mrs. Rossmarin?
Mr. Zuber?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Thanks for the phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Thanks.
Okay.
With that? Thank you very much.
to be able to walk out, doesn't it?
Everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too. Very good. Lovely. Good to see you. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
You guys are awesome. I love Avon.
Thank you. We're now going to open up a public hearing upon the NOPEC natural gas opt-in program. And I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Gentry.
So I just wanted to introduce Kyla Presto from NOPEC she was going to talk to us about the opt-in program for the natural gas. Go ahead.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here this evening. Just wanted to open up the floor for questions afterward, and first I'm going to give an introduction of what the gas opt-in provision means. So as a reminder, NOPEC is a gas and electric aggregation that serves you and your residents. We have over 240 member communities, and we are a council of governments that aggregates to deliver more competitive rates and protections for Ohio consumers. In your plan of operation and governance, which is known as the POG, currently there is no provision for gas opt-in. The aggregation is opt-out by default, meaning that residents get to take advantage of the program benefits automatically, and if they so choose, they can opt out. The gas opt-in provision enables residents to come back into the aggregation if they leave and then later wish to come back. Under the current POG, residents would have to wait until the next anniversary period. We send out opt-out letters for gas every 2 years. And if they were to leave the aggregation and wish to come back under the current POG, they would have to wait until the next opt-out period, which the next one is June 2025. So depending on when they would leave, and the cycle would depend on how long they would have to wait. The gas opt-in provision gives them that ability, just like the electric program where people could go in and out with more flexibility. It would more mirror that by providing the opt-in provision that they could come back if they left. And it would take effect within 1 to 2 billing cycles. To come back, they could call our customer service center. And as long as they're aggregation eligible, meaning they're not in an agreement with another supplier, that they could come back within 1 to 2 billing cycles rather than waiting until that next anniversary period. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions among our council people on this particular part? Okay. I have a question before we go out to the audience. So you have other parts and pieces. Do you want to deal with each of them later, like before your legislation, or during your committee report? Because this hearing is only for gas.
Right. So I thought I could talk about that when I do my committee update.
Very good. So then at this point, I see that there aren't any other questions from my colleagues. We're going to go out to the public. Are there any questions about this particular program with the public? Seeing none? Oh, yes, we do have one. So if you could take a seat. Thank you.
I just want to make one comment. I think it's something
Phillips,
that should
introduce
be
yourself.
approved. Gerald W. Phillips, 461 Wynwood Way, gives the residents more flexibility in the sense of being able to opt back in versus the current. So whether people, I think the fact that they have that choice is beneficial. So I hope council approves both the appropriate ordinances related to the NOPEC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Anybody else? Any comments? Okay, seeing none, we're now going to close the public hearing. Now we have the approval of minutes. You all had a chance to read the minutes? Any corrections or adjustments? Seeing none, they will stand as published. Thank you. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence? Mrs. Rossmarin?
I don't have any to report.
Any colleagues have correspondence to be shared? Okay, we'll move along now to reports. Mr. Mayor, you're the first report.
Thank you, Madam President. Couple good news regarding grants. Obviously, we've talked about being more aggressive when it comes to getting grants. We have received the Ohio Public Works Commission grant for Walker Road Phase 6. That is the area between Jaycox up to and including the intersection of Lear Road. That's a project estimated just over $1 million. We're going to be receiving a grant of $275,000 and a loan of $125,000 towards that project. That'll be scheduled to begin design in '25 with construction in '26. We also received word just today, actually, that the Ohio Department of Natural Resources granted us a grant in the amount of $69,816 for ALPS. So we have additional funds going towards ALPS, so that is good news as well. I also want to announce that the next and assumed final implosion will occur the week of December 16th through December 20th. As we get closer to the date and we work with ALERG on that, we'll announce further the more precise date and time of that implosion. Also want to announce that the traffic analysis request that we've had so much discussion on went out Thursday for requests for qualifications. And that is out there now for the public, and we'll be getting those back and taking a look at those at the deadline. And then lastly, I want to announce December 6th from 6 to 8 is Light Up the Park at Veterans Park. Hope everybody can make it out. It's going to be a little bit more than we usually do on that day. We've got other activities planned, and you can go to our website and check out those activities. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mayor? Seeing none, we'll have the Council President's report. The next CCM is going to be December the 2nd. And then our hopefully final budget meeting will be December the 3rd. It'll be at 5 p.m. in these chambers. The next council meeting will be December the 9th. So that you can plan ahead, we are going to have a double meeting. The last meeting of City Council of 2024 will be a double meeting, as I said. There will be a CCM followed by a council meeting on December the 16th. And that's all that I have for this particular point in time. Any comments from my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no report this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for the Law Director? Public Works Director?
Thank you. I have some updates this evening. I'll start with the both roads programs. As the weather, pending winter weather's coming, contractors are winding things down for the 2024 construction season. Current roadways that are in progress will be picked up in the spring as soon as the weather breaks. And then we will also be sending out those residents specifically impacted by those projects, just kind of an update letter of what to expect from now through the spring. Additionally, I just wanted to have a quick update on leaf collection. We're moving through the city, I think, in a pretty good pace and fashion. I want to thank all the staff down at Public Works for all the efforts that they put in thus far this season. We've been working 10-hour days a week, and it's definitely a lot of hours and a lot of hard work, but they are doing very well with it, and I just want to give them a compliment on their work thus far. I also want to touch upon branch collection. I know we fielded some calls here and there on it, and just would like to just ask for a little bit of patience as we get through the thickest part of leaf season, which I would anticipate over the next 2 weeks. And as we start to lean out on that, we'll get a truck back out on the road to address branches and start getting those collected. Quick update on deer culling. They had one session about a week ago in which they were able to remove 4 deer. So they're looking to have another upcoming session in early December. So that's an ongoing project, but so far so good. And that's about all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Leskovic? Yes, Mrs. Gentry?
Do you have an update on the progress?
Oh, yes, I do. Actually, I had a meeting for update on City Hall. I had a meeting this morning with the project manager. So right now we're in paint and primer stage. They're hoping to have all that squared away by probably early next week, early middle next week. Then we got ceiling tile work, flooring, and working our way out with cleaning and moving everything back in. Their goal is about 2.5 to 3 weeks to be out, cleaned up, and have everybody back in place. So I will be keeping on top of that with them. Obviously, we had a conversation today. Labor is still an issue. They had 3 new hires set up to start today, and none of them showed. So it's a struggle everywhere, but they're working hard to try to get this done and get us back into normal working fashion.
If I could comment on that, I'm really appreciative of the washing of the floors and the cleaning up that they did at the end of last week. It made a big difference. It really did. You could even smell it differently as you came down the hallway. You didn't have that heavy dust smell. If they could concentrate on, when they're finished cleaning up the council records and the furniture of council, it would be most appreciated,
Yes.
along with the law director's area.
They're already aware of some of the dust that has migrated about, and we'll be doing a very thorough cleaning of everything before they turn it back over to us.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Mr. Liskovic, we have the 2 ordinances on for the Assistant Public Works Director and the Public Works Supervisor. Are those all set to go?
Yes, sir. All the
According
revisions
to
have
your review?
been made, and they have been included and should be included in the packet for you guys this evening.
Thank you.
Very good. I'm going to go through standing committees next. Anybody else have a question for the Public Works Director at this point? Okay, we're going to go through the standing committees. The first one is Building and Utilities. Mrs. Gentry?
So Building and Utilities met on November 13th, and we had NOPEC come in, both groups of NOPEC, for the opt-in program, and then also the second one was for the STARS program, STAR with an S. And so I wanted to, we've already heard about the gas opt-in. We have 2 ordinances on the agenda for tonight. But the other discussion that we have is with the STAR program, which is enabling for sustainable technical assistance resource pilot program. So to help the city find ways to make us more sustainable. So in that regard, I'd like to have Deepa come up and speak a little bit. And if we have any technical questions, Nicole is here and can answer those for us.
Very good. Deepa?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deepa Vedavyas. I'm the Director of Resiliency and Sustainability at NOPEC. And it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you all today to share a little bit about the STAR program that Councilman Gentry talked about. And as part of the aggregation model, as you know, energy, providing natural gas and electricity is one part of the service. But again, the value add essentially comes in the support services and all the additional benefits that a city gets. And as part of that effort, we see more and more cities that NOPEC serves are increasingly prioritizing sustainability and resiliency efforts. And on that regard, for the first time, we launched a pilot initiative this year for up to 6 cities. Currently 5 cities have already joined, and we have 1 remaining spot available, of which I'm here to present that opportunity to Avon Lake to consider. So this is a municipal carbon accounting program fully funded by NOPEC. and it is through an innovation fund that we have. It's a one-time opportunity. So that allows for cities to look at their entire municipal operations in its entirety and look at the carbon footprint, and also solar site assessment, and apart from that we also have a fleet assessment. So this is like a three separate programs which we are partnering. We have engaged World Connect, a very reputed international organization, and again we have a local leadership here through Nicole Sticka, who runs that on behalf of NOPEC as a consultant with us, and who is currently working with 5 other cities in the region, and will be working if Avon Lake shares their interest in participating in the program. And for that we request the city, the mayor, to offer us a letter of intent expressing the interest for the city to be able to participate in this program so we can move forward.
Thank you very much. So if I could, so by signing the letter of intent to participate in the program, that's allowing then World Connect to perform the assessments of the buildings, and also looking at our fleets to see if there's any way that we can have more efficient services provided, correct?
Absolutely.
Correct. Mrs. Gentry, you might want to have Nicole come up and speak a little bit about World Connect.
Good evening, Nicole Sticko, and I lead the World Connect Energy Management Group for North America, our sustainability advisory. And so we have been pleased to be able to support cities through NOPAC and working with organizations like the City of Avon Lake to do a carbon footprint of your municipal operations, which means looking at the way in which you operate your buildings and looking at target reduction strategies to not just lower the carbon emissions, but also lower the energy cost, which results in savings back to the city. And in addition, looking at solar assessments and the fleet, and looking at how do you electrify your fleet and move from what you currently have to a more efficient way of operating. And so our carbon accounting team will be working closely with city stakeholders, various departments, to create the carbon footprint that we would then help identify ways in which you can reduce those emissions in what is considered your scope 1 and 2. So your direct and indirect emissions that the city have ability to control.
Thank you. Ms. Gentry, I'd like to ask a question. Nicole, can you share with us who the other 5 communities are that are part of this program of assessment?
Yes. So over the last year, we have worked with the city of Cleveland Heights, Lakewood, University, or South Euclid, Warren, and Kent. Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any further questions for my councilman? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mrs. Gentry, anything else?
No, that was all. Our next meeting is December 10th.
Thank you. The next meeting will be Mr. Shamir with SERP.
We had a SERP meeting earlier today. A number of issues were discussed. We had a purchase of equipment for studio upgrade that was discussed. That's going to be coming up on an emergency basis on December 9th. Also, we discussed the Avon Lake landfill closure issue, where HZW will be reporting to SERP on January 27th. Nothing else.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Shamir? Mr. Arnold, Economic Development.
Thank you. There was an Economic Development Committee meeting on November 18th. There were 2 items that were discussed. The first one was DeHoff Development and the purchase of Town Center. Dan DeHoff and his team came in just to give council kind of an update of really what their intentions are for the development. I talked about, showed us a slideshow of some of the other developments that they have upgraded throughout the years. So more or less just the introduction to council. The second item was ALERG came in and did an update on their demolition. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Arnold? Mr. Zuber, tell us about the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee will have a meeting on the 3rd, as the President said. It's going to be a budget meeting at 5 p.m. in this room. The following day, we do have a special meeting. It's a joint safety Finance Committee meeting. It starts at 5:30 or immediately after the Public Service meeting. We're going to have Dan Wazinski, the Vice President of Construction for River Cadis Management, to talk to us a little bit about the fire station. That's something that I'm trying to bring forward so that we can start moving on funding aspects of that. And I know that this is just the beginning, but we'll be having plenty of other meetings on that also. Just the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the income tax collections are now up 4.714%. It's a $763,000 increase over last year. We have 2 more payments coming from Rita, but so far it's been a good year. Like I said, up over $763,000.
Thank you, Mr. Zuber.
Just,
go ahead.
The total on that is $16,969,361.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Zuber? Mr. Smith, HR.
Thank you. We have a couple ordinances on for second reading. As you heard me during Mr. Liskovic's report, it looks like those are in the queue now to be finished up on a third reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Seeing none, we will move on then to Mr. Cos with Public Safety and Health.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. The Public Safety and Health Committee met on November the 19th at 5:30 here in the council chambers. There were a number of items on the agenda. I will touch on what I feel are the most important ones that resulted in a vote of some type. One of the items was discussion on the community disaster plan. The administration is currently updating our local community disaster plan. However, at this past meeting, it was introduced by the safety forces that Lorraine County, the county has a county disaster plan, and that document was submitted to all members of council digitally, and it's the request from the committee that members of the committee review that and members of council review that, as a lot of the information that would be in a municipal disaster plan is in the county plan. And the intention is to formally adopt the county plan at the January 14th Safety Committee meeting, along with an updated local plan as well too, which will serve as almost the term that was being used by the fire chief, almost as an annex to that larger plan. So the idea is to bring both of those items to the Safety Committee meeting on the 14th for review, and we're going to look forward for a vote on both of those at that meeting. Another item that was talked about was the Lorraine County Safety Grant. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. The vehicle exhaust system, which is one of the items that we've talked about quite a bit here at City Council the last few weeks. This is an item that we had received a grant for. The vendor that is selected has been selected, or was recommended by the administration, the fire chief, was MagnaGrip, and this was presented to the Safety Committee, and by a 3-0 vote, the committee voted to select MagnaGrip as the vendor for the vehicle exhaust system in the amount of $99,748. I will be bringing that to the collective committee meeting a week from today, and it is the intention to pass it at the final meeting of this calendar year. I believe that's on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll do a suspension of the rule, and I think that'll be a second reading that we'll pass that on. We also talked about the fireworks contract. The amount of the fireworks contract is $25,000, and this was awarded to American Fireworks. And there was a good discussion on how that was, how they were selected. But the important thing is that July 3rd is the fireworks date, with July 7th being the follow-up date. And again, that's for $25,000. That does not require any council action. but the committee did vote 3-0 to approve that. And when I'm done with this, I'll ask the mayor if he has any comments on the fireworks contract, as he was involved with the selection of that vendor, which is new for the city of Avon Lake. Then we had the body-worn camera grant that Chief Molnar presented, and by a 3-0 vote, the committee authorized the police chief and the administration to apply for that body-worn camera grant. Those are the items that came out with votes. And again, I will defer to the mayor for any comments on the fireworks, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions about
Mr.
the
Mayor.
committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we solicited different companies for the fireworks. We wanted to make sure we looked at all the companies. We solicited from, I think it was 4 or 5 different companies. We received proposals back from 3. We looked at those. This past year, we used Zambelli, who we've used for a couple years. We did have a couple concerns about the safety from Zambelli. So the fire department did some research, and we looked at American Fireworks, and we got good reviews from them, not only for their display, but their safety considerations. And actually, they had more shots, more fireworks actually included in the price than Zambelli did. So Mr. Kaz's committee selected them to move forward with, and we're happy with that selection.
And also, you checked with the communities, and they have very good references.
Correct.
Any further questions? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I got
Cox.
one more thing. I wanted to touch on the traffic studies that have been much talked about for the Lear Road, Walker Road, southeast quadrant of the city. So a letter of interest has gone out seeking companies and firms to apply to do this traffic study. The dates that we discussed at the Safety Committee meeting was January the 3rd, that those had to be returned, the letters of interest. We were looking at a February 3rd start date on a proposed traffic study with a completion date of June the 6th on that traffic study. So dates are important. The letters of interest are out. We're seeking the firms to apply. A selection will be made. That discussion will be had through the committee process and collective committee meetings. So council and the public will be aware of that process. But just want to say that the intention is to start that study on February the 3rd, and that we have a completion date of June the 6th. So we'll have an answer or findings by mid-year 2025. And Mayor, if I missed anything on that, please feel free to add in.
Mr. Mayor.
No, that's pretty close. There's a lot of dates we have involved in there, getting it through council, getting council approval. Once council approves that contract and proposal, then we're going to move forward on it. And I know everybody's looking forward to that happening, so.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Kaz? Seeing none, we're going to move on then to public service. Public service, the next meeting is going to be December the 4th at 5:30 in these chambers. And there's 2 items on the agenda tonight. There's a motion authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for an OEPA recycle grant to purchase a pour-in-place surface for Avon Lake Play Space, commonly known as ALPS. The other item that is on the agenda is an ordinance item, an ordinance amending codified ordinance section 208.01 entitled Fee Schedule. This will have 3 readings. There's actually 2 parts to it. The first part is that we have had the price of worms and ice in our fee structure, and it has been decided that we're going to remove that particular item. And the second one is that we're going to be increasing the rental costs for the gazebo and the different facilities in Avon Lake. And I would like to open up further discussion with Mr. Shamir. Do you want to say something to this effect as to how that came to be?
The discussion was brought up at the Parks and Recreation Committee, and after quite a bit of studying, they realized that the best way forward is to have a 1-session rental that would allow a much better and efficient use of resources of the city, and the cleanup cycle would be reduced by a considerable amount.
So by 1 session, he means when you would rent it, you'd rent it for the day versus a partial of the day, because we had 3 different sessions throughout the day, and this way it would be once a day. And what's interesting is looking at past records, most people would rent it for at least 2 sessions. So it just makes a lot of sense. And somebody that wants to have a gazebo, let's say at Veterans Park, and also the Veterans Memorial, the entire park, which would be the Folger Home and the Lake House, that can be arranged through City Hall. Any further questions on this particular one? We're going to be increasing that particular one. Seeing none among my colleagues, we're going to move on to the Planning Commission with Mr. Smith.
Yes. Thank you. The Planning Commission meets next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, right after our budget meeting. My understanding was that there was going to be one item on the agenda, and I do not know what it is at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Smith? The Zoning Board, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The next meeting, I have a date here. Next meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals is December 12th.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Mayor? Okay, we're going to move on now to Parks and Recreation Commission. Mr. Shamir?
Nothing to report, but the discussion on the increase in rates was already discussed here. Thank you.
Very good. Now, special committees, EAB, Mr. Shamir?
Nothing to report at EAB.
Thank you. The Tree Commission is going to meet on December the 11th at 7 p.m. It'll be the final meeting for 2024. And presently, we're working with the Public Works Department to put together the application for Tree City USA. It's due by the end of this month. Any questions on that particular one? Any other special committees? Yes, sir. Yes. Mr. Arnold.
I know, I was doing my mic here. We have an ad hoc committee that was formed previously this year. We had, for short-term rentals here in Avon Lake, we had a meeting last Thursday. There were a couple different issues that were talked about. One was if we feel it's necessary to have these short-term rentals register with the city. Chief Petza talked about some concerns in regards to the safety measures of these homes and or apartments. So we're working our way through it. We should be very close to finishing this up in the next month or so. The next meeting we look to meet is in January at some point, and as soon as I have a date, I'll get that out.
Thank you. Any other ad hoc committees? Yes, sir.
Can I just say one thing too?
Yes.
Just so the public knows that our committee's not looking to outlaw any short-term rentals. So just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that.
Right, and I'll tell you, I attended the meeting. I was very impressed with how Mr. Arnold handled it. What he is doing is he has reached out previously to individuals that own short-term rentals and working with them to have a safe environment for our neighborhoods and to maintain our neighborhoods. And the way that they are putting together the permit process is involving all of the departments in the city of Avon Lake. It will be regulated, and the law director will be working on that legislation. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Any further comments? Yes, Mr. Shamir?
Not on this issue.
Oh, okay. Any other special committees or ad hoc? Yes, sir.
We had a meeting of the Walker Road Ad Hoc Committee meeting on Thursday, November 14th. There were a number of issues discussed. The first was responsibility matrix development, which Mr. Liskovic is going to take a look at and pull together on responsibilities of who will be doing what sort of things within that park area. Another item that was discussed was the installation of water lines by Avon Lake Regional Water and the installation for irrigation and a faucet, which also Mr. Liskovic will be updating us later on the issue. And out of that meeting, we also had a discussion to do a lessons learned session to understand the issues related to the Walker Road wetlands. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Shamir? Okay, at this point in time, yes, sir.
I believe I gave an incorrect date on the next zoning board of appeals. It's actually December 11th. I believe I said the 12th. So December 11th, Wednesday is the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now at this point in time, we're going to open it up to audience participation on any topics that are on tonight's agenda. Would anybody like to come forward and speak? Come on, Mr. Phillips.
Gerald W. Phillips, 461 Windward Way. I want to talk about ordinance 24-171, the so-called altering the speed limits on 83. You know, it seems like the city of Avon Lake just doesn't like to follow the ORC and the right procedure on how to change speed limits when the state has already designated what the speed limit is. And they don't like to go through the process, although they did try on Lake Road and back in 90, and ODOT refused it now. You know, City of Avon Lake passes ordinances 8-24, 9-24, 10-24, and they wanted to change speed limits on Detroit Road, 254 and 83. So their engineering firm, Chagrin Valley, you know, conducted what they call the Detroit Road speed study, and they submitted with their request. But it seems like Avon Lake doesn't care about doing speed studies and does it unilaterally, and they think that's great. But, you know, and we keep hearing about that you got home rule and you got the charter. Well, home rule, you know, is subject to and preempted by state law. And 83 and Route 6 are state routes. So the state of Ohio, ODOT, has superior authority to control the speed limit on that, and that's what the ORC says. So contrary to that, you continue to go down that road. We got an ODOT designation from 1958. So for 76 years, you've had constantly ignored the law. Now, I can't help that ODOT doesn't enforce it. They probably have a lot of places that, you know, do it, but I thought that we were supposed to be a country of the law, a state of the law, city of the law, but this body, and you've been warned about it, okay? Everybody on council, some of you have been on there 20 years. I mean, the council president, she's a fixture, and this has been up on an issue, Mr. Koss, Mr. Zuber, Mr. Arnold, but you continue to ignore the law, all right? You continue to ignore the law. So we'll be in court, we'll be litigating it again, and you know, we'll be also pursuing any illegal tickets that as a result of that. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak on any of the topics on our agenda tonight?
William Zimmerman. I too wish to speak on the same topic. So today I went to the police station and I filed a complaint against the city of Avon Lake for not obeying the Ohio Department of Transportation ruling from 1958, stating where the speed limits for both 83 and 6 would be 35 miles an hour. I believe this is dereliction of duty by this body. You've known about it forever. Mr. Koss, my favorite fraudulent council person, has continually said that he's got this and he's got that, and he's going to change this and he's going to change that. And yet you've lost up on Lake Road. That should go all the way through 35. This shouldn't be a 25. That's not a business district. You guys are trying to incorporate the Avon Lake Water Regional Plant that's to the east of Moore Road. This is a joke. Continuation of now 83. As Mr. Phillips said, this has gone on from 58. Nobody's ever done anything about it. Well, now I've made a complaint about it. Police department will be giving it to the law director shortly. That was my conversation with them today. Because this is a joke. You guys don't abide by the rule of law. It's in place, has been for decades. All of you have been here, you've known about it, you've done nothing about it. You're a fraud. I hate the fact that I have to be represented by you in my ward.
If you could speak to me, please.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
My point is that what he thinks is safe isn't always. The rule of law is supposed to be safe. And that's why we have a constitution, an Ohio Constitution even, which supersedes the charters. My point again will be, nobody does this. You guys do nothing about it. You sit here, you
Speak to
ignore
me,
it,
please, sir.
you ignore me. I could talk to the whole area. Don't have to focus just
You
on
need to
you.
focus on
I
me,
don't
sir.
believe that that's proper etiquette.
Sir.
Because I can't just sit here and be focused on you. As wonderful a person as you are, I don't want to do that. Jeez, man. My point again will be, it's 35. It's been documented. ODOT has the paperwork. Oh wait, I have the paperwork from ODOT. There it is. I think all of you can find it and get it as well. I'm sure this is an easy task. Even you can manage to take care of. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward and speak on any topic on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our motions. The very first motion, Mrs. Gentry.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute a letter of intent to participate in NOPEC's Sustainable Technical Assistance Resources, the STAR pilot program.
Thank you. And in discussion?
So as we have heard from both Deepa and Nicole, this program will help the city become more sustainable and identify areas where we can do that.
Thank you. Any further discussion among my colleagues? Seeing none, Mrs. Rossmarin, the roll.
Mr. Zuber?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Thank you. It is passed. The second motion, I move to authorize the mayor or his designee to apply for an OEPA recycle grant to purchase a pour-in-place surface for Avon Lake play space known as ALPS. This is a similar rubberized type surface that we have for the old firehouse, and there is a recycling grant that can help pay for it. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Rossmarin, the roll, please.
Mr. Zuber?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Thank you. That too is passed. Legislation. Are there any additions or deletions from our legislation? Seeing no additional motions, we're going to go with the second reading. Ordinance number 24-156. Mrs. Rossmarin, read by title only.
An ordinance adopting a job description for the position of Assistant Public Works Director and establishing the qualifications and duties for said position.
Mr. Smith?
This is the ordinance I discussed in my report. Like the other one though did make a name change in it. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or Mr. Liskovic can answer them.
And your intent? This will go
To
three
pass it
readings?
on a third reading, yep.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Smith? Seeing none, we will go on to ordinance number 24-157R. Mrs. Rossmarin, read by title only.
An ordinance adopting a job description for the position of Public Works Supervisor and establishing the qualifications and duties for said position.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. This also has been discussed, and you'll note that the R is as a result of a name change and some changes we made to the job description. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, and your intent is for this to go three readings?
That's correct.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Smith? Seeing none, we will go on to ordinance number 24-166. Is that correct? 166?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, 166. Mr. Zuber?
Is she gonna read it?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Mrs. Rossmarin, would you read by title only?
An ordinance fixing the salary of the mayor in accordance with the provisions of the Avon Lake Charter, repealing ordinance number 1-2015, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Zuber?
I move the second reading of ordinance 24-166.
Any further discussion?
This is the recommendation coming out of a Citizens Review Committee to set the mayor's salary at $125,000. This committee was set up because of the charter. We have to act on the mayor's salary by the end of this year. If we do not act on it, the mayor will then be paid 3% more than the highest appointee that he makes, which would be the fire chief, which would make the mayor's salary $155,000. This group of citizens were HR professionals along with other members of the community that made this recommendation. They also recommended that the mayor also receive 3 weeks of vacation instead of 2.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to go on to ordinance number 24-167. Mrs. Rossmarin, would you read by title only?
An ordinance fixing the salary of the members of council in accordance with the provisions of the Avon Lake Charter and repealing ordinance number 53-2015.
Mr. Zuber,
I move the second reading of ordinance number 24-167.
in discussion.
This too came out of the recommendation of the ad hoc committee to look at both the salaries of the mayor and also council. As you can see, council has not had an increase voted on since 2015, and this would not take effect until January 1st of 2026. This would increase the salary from $12,000 to $14,000 and also an additional $2,000 for the council president.
Thank you. Any further discussion from Mr. Zuber? Yes, Mr. Arnold?
Yeah, I won't be voting for this, just so everyone knows. I've talked to everyone about this in the past. We needed to fix the mayor's salary due to the charter ordinance that was passed and voted on. But with this one, there's no real reason to increase council's salary. If we don't do this, it stays the same, and I'm for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Shamir?
I will be following suit with Mr. Arnold. Just thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Okay, we will then move along to ordinance number 24-168. Mrs. Rossmarin, would you read by title only?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Neighborhood Alliance.
Mr. Zuber?
I move for the suspension of the council rule requiring 3 readings.
Mrs. Rossmarin? The vote?
Mr. Zuber?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Zuber?
I move for passage of ordinance number 24-168.
In discussion?
This is a contract that we work with social services for those that receive what we used to know as Meals on Wheels, home delivery of meals for mainly those over the age of 60 years. I don't know, the mayor may have another comment on this also. I know
Mr. Mayor.
that part of these funds come from CDBG, I believe, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you. As Mr. Zuber stated, these are what was known as Meals on Wheels, and they supply a great service to our seniors, providing meals weekly. This was turned over to Neighborhood Alliance to do, and they do a fantastic job running it. The $61,000 cost is based upon the number of clients that we have in Avon Lake, and that's what is needed to provide the services for 25. Thank you.
And if I could add to it, there's been an increase in clientele, and they've actually had an increase in the number of vans that they have, so that the food is delivered quicker and faster and hotter. Thank you. Any further discussion on this topic? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the first readings. Ordinance number 24. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
You have to vote.
Yes, you're correct. We did vote on this. I'm sorry. I'm moving along too fast. Mrs. Rossmarin, the roll.
Mr. Zuber?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Thank you. It is passed. We'll move now on to the first readings. Ordinance number 24-171. Mrs. Rossmarin, read by title only.
An ordinance to designate a portion of State Route 83 as a business district pursuant to codified ordinance section 402.07 and to modify the speed limit to be 25 miles per hour only within that portion of State Route 83 within the business district and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Cos?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. This is the first reading of 3 full readings that we are going to go into on this. Well, there's quite a bit that I have to respond to, so let me try to do it the best that I can, as simple as I can. We're going to have 3 full readings on this, so there's going to be plenty of opportunity to discuss this, and at the end of my comments, I'm going to ask the law director also to comment as well, too. So the first part that I'd like to put out is, the first part of this ordinance is establishing a business district. This is something that is very much in the charge of a municipality under home rule. That is the first part of this ordinance, is we are establishing a business district per the requirements and per the definitions of the state of Ohio under our home rule. So that's the first part, is establishing the business district. Second part is, if we go to the Ohio Revised Code, and also the flyer that's been passed around, which is kind of a summary of a lot of things. It doesn't go into every scenario. It doesn't even mention some of the other aspects of a business district or some of the definitions. But a note that I want to put out to the public, when it talks about speeds, the state code says speeds on state routes, 35 miles per hour on all state routes or through highways within the municipality outside business districts. Outside business districts. Just before that, 25 miles per hour. This is referring to state speed limits on state routes. This is before that. 25 miles per hour. This is a speed limit for 25 miles per hour in all other portions of the municipality except on state routes outside business districts, through highways outside business districts and alleys. So, by charter, by home rule, following the guidelines of the state of Ohio, we are establishing a business district through that area, which is marked carefully on the documents that we have all received. Once that is a business district, the speed limit, we are well in our rights to establish that district at 25 miles per hour. Now, why is it important to keep the speed limit at 25 miles per hour in that district? Does the public know what is the #1 accident site in the entire city for motor vehicle accidents? And I've done this before. The #1 site, and it's not even close, Walker Road, Avon, Belden, the exact locations that we are talking about with this proposed legislation. So not only are we establishing a business district, which we have the full authority to do, we are going to keep the speed limit at 25 miles per hour because of the number of accidents that have occurred there. Now, this past summer, I asked Chief Molnar to pull data from the last few years showing where the top intersection accident locations are in the city. Well, Walker Road, Avon, Belden Road, 34 accidents going through that area. 34. The next closest was Pin Oak Parkway in Avon, Belden, which had 10. So more than 3 times the second intersection, most accidents in an intersection. More than 3 times Walker Road, Avon, Belden Road had 3 times as many accidents. We also have 25 miles per hour going east-west through that intersection on Walker Road through there. That is established also by ordinance. That's not a state route, but Walker Road through that area has been previously established as 25 miles per hour. We're all familiar with where the signs are. Over by the safety center, approaching from on the west side of that intersection, and the shopping center on the east side of that. So this is keeping that entire east-west, north-south at 35 miles per hour. 25 miles per hour. Thank you, Ms. Gentry. So I feel that the administration, which has guided us through this entire pathway of this, the law director, through our engineer helping us to put this together, to the mayors, to the safety forces, that we are well within our means to be able to do this. So we're going to go 3 full readings on this. As has been previously mentioned, we're going to get sued. I think Mr. Phillips actually said something that I sort of agree with a few weeks ago on this, where he said this could just be a difference in legal interpretation. That could be the point. And, that's a fair point. But the name calling, the fraud stuff, that's a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch of garbage. And guess what? I have been elected 5 times by the people. So his opinion, I'm sorry, I'm not going to single anybody out. So the opinion that I'm a fraud is a minority opinion. It is a small minority opinion, and it's trash and it's garbage. And I thank you, Madam President, for steering him back to the front, and I look forward to any questions that council may have. And Mr. Law Director, would you comment on this as well?
Thank you. Mr. Ebert?
Yes, we have done extensive research, and I think put out a memo. I think everyone's received that concerning the recent cases on this. And the very specific difference is this is classified as a business district. That's a noted exception as far as the state highway is concerned. We've researched even the most recent cases. This has no effect whatsoever on the city of Avon. Mr. Phillips' question before. This is completely different than that situation. But I'll comment again next time on the second reading more on the situation. I left my file back at, not here, I took it over to Westlake and I left it there, so I'll be happy to comment more on the second reading when it's up for second reading. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I want to support Mr. Cos in this. He truly cares about the safety of this community, and when he acts on these types of legislation, it's for the safety of the community. And as being in charge of the safety forces and my background, that's also vitally important to me. So this ordinance actually does exactly what we'd hope. It will continue to have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. The consequences of having it raised to 35 miles an hour would be severely detrimental to the safety of our community. And so we're doing the right thing, we're doing it the right way, and I'm sure there'll be more discussion.
Thank you. Any further discussion from my colleagues? Yes, Mrs. Gentry.
I remember in one of the meetings, and I'm not sure who had stated it, do we know the difference in between 25 miles per hour and 35, what the impact to a person who's in that accident is?
Mr. Cos?
Yes, that's a good question. Do you want me to answer that right now?
Yes, Mr. Cos.
Okay. All right. This was in the documents that I submitted to the Safety Committee. This is from a AAA impact speed and pedestrian risk of severe injury study conducted by AAA. I have 2024 down, but I think it was a couple years before that. Results show that the average risk of severe injury for a pedestrian struck by a vehicle reaches 10% at an impact speed of 16 miles per hour, 25% at 23 miles per hour, 50% at 31 miles per hour, 75% at 39 miles per hour, and 90% at 46 miles per hour. The average risk of death for a pedestrian reaches 10% at an impact speed of 23 miles per hour, 25% at 32 miles per hour, 50% at 42, 75 at 50, and 90 at 58. So you can see just a 10 mile per hour difference literally can mean life and death. It really can, or severe injuries. So I thank you for bringing that up. I also want to mention that for people that watch this, people say, Cos, how do you deal with this? How do you put up with this week after week? And my voice gets a little high, and I let myself get agitated, and I take a deep breath, and I say to myself, as the mayor, thank you for the comments, we really do these things with the best of intentions for the people. And we catch stuff like this, and anyone that has been watching sees it every single week, and we'll keep seeing it probably for the next couple of years. That's fine. So I want to apologize for raising my voice and getting a little agitated. I shouldn't let these things get to me after all these years. But we're going to do 3 readings on this. There'll be a lot more to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cos, and I really appreciate the time that you put in to your studies and how you actually have not just opinions, but verifiable facts. And we have another comment down here, Mr. Smith, yes.
Yes, thank you. While the discussion's been going on, I had a chance to take a look at Ohio Revised Code 4511.21 B2, and I think that that supports our position, so I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shamir.
You know, that cross-section is, it's kind of dear to me because I've got a daughter who runs cross-country and swims. And that is the place where all the kids get out to raise funds. It is also the place that people cross the road to go get a cup of coffee, to go and grab a bite to eat at those times, or when they're visiting Cleveland Clinic. So to me, the speed limit and the potential impact on the community, whether it's injury or loss of life, supersedes everything else. Thank you, Mr. Cos.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Shamir. Anybody else? Okay. Yes, Mr. Arnold.
No, I'll just comment too. That part I talked about with Town Center, about how the potential to be adding, maybe hopefully filling that void there is going to create so much more traffic in that area, which just supports the idea of keeping it at 25.
And it is a business area district.
Correct.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any further discussions? Okay. We're going to move on to ordinance number 24-175. Mrs. Rossmarin, please read it by title only.
An ordinance approving the plan of operation and governance for the NOPEC opt-in gas aggregation program for the purpose of jointly establishing and implementing an opt-in gas aggregation program as a NOPEC member.
Thank you. Mrs. Gentry.
As discussed by Kyla, this is the update to the plan of operation and governance for the opt-in program for gas. This is very similar. I don't know if it was obvious from before, but we already have an opt-in for electricity, so this is specific to our gas, to allow people to opt in once they have opted out and not have to wait until that biannual or every other year update. So I think we've already heard most of, I don't know what else we can add to that discussion.
I think the only other thing that we need to add is the timeliness of this. So everybody is wearing a jacket today, right? It's getting chillier and colder, which means that our furnaces are going to come on. So which means that those of us that have gas versus electricity that powers our furnaces, we're going to be needing more of it. And for somebody that might be not in NOPEC and they want to come back into NOPEC to save funds, this would be the time to do it before they get into deep winter. So I think the timeliness of this is very important. And I want to thank NOPEC and also Mrs. Gentry for bringing it here. Mr. Arnold.
No, I was just going to say, to the residents, I'm sure you all do it, or at least a lot of you do, is to continue to try to get the best rates, go to apples, do a cost comparative, make sure you understand what you're getting into, and I've done that multiple times and saved a lot of money doing that. So thank you.
Very good point. Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will go on to ordinance number 176.
An ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to establish an opt-in natural gas program pursuant to section 4929.27A1 Ohio Revised Code, jointly through NOPEC as a NOPEC member.
Thank you, Mrs. Gentry.
Yes, this is follow-up for the previous opt-in program or ordinance. This just enables the actions necessary to complete that, other than the POG.
And your intentions?
3 readings for both of those.
Thank you. Any further discussion among my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, we will go on to ordinance number 24-177. Mrs. Rossmarin, by title only.
An ordinance amending codified ordinance section 208.01 entitled Fee Schedule.
thank you. In discussion, and this will go 3 readings also. In discussion, as we had said before, the boat launch, we had the price down for ice is $1.50 per bag, worms $2.50 per dozen. And this is something that we're going to be removing from our fee schedule because if prices fluctuate in something as small as that, we really don't need to create more paperwork. Now we're going to go on to another topic, and that has to do with the picnic, pavilion, and gazebo rentals that are here within this particular section. And if you are a resident, right now you would be paying $25, for example, for Miller Road Park Pavilion. That will move up to $50. If you're a non-resident, you were paying $50, that would move up to $100. Miller Road Park Gazebo, the same, it would double. Blesser Park Pavilion A, Blesser Park Pavilion B, Weisfield A, Weisfield B, Walker Road Park Pavilion, Bay Village residents receive a resident rate, and Veterans Memorial Park Gazebo. And the reason for this is on several different levels. One, we have had in the past where you can rent the space 3 different time lots with 3 different prices that would add up. Most people rent it for 2 time lots. In between each of those time slots, Public Works has to come in to clean it. And this way, this would be a daily rental, and you could have it the entire time without interruptions. And it would make it more efficient at our end also. Any further discussion among my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on to ordinance number 24-179. Mrs. Rossman, read by title only.
An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenditures and other expenditures of the city of Avon Lake for fiscal year 2025 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Zuber.
I move the first reading of ordinance number 24-179.
And what is your intent?
This is the budget, first reading of the budget that we're going to have another meeting on Tuesday of next week to have some more discussion mainly about the capital budget in regards to funding certain priorities. And
so this will go 3 readings.
Yeah, but I look at this going 3 readings to be passed on the 16th by emergency.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Mr. Zuber, any further discussion? Or anyone else? Okay, we are now at the end of our ordinances. We're going to now open it up to public input. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to come forward for public input?
There's a real easy, Gerald W. Phillips, 461 Windward Way.
Thank you.
There's a real easy solution to ordinance 24-175. It's just go through the protocol and the procedure, okay? Do a speed study, submit it to ODOT, and if everything you say is true about it necessary for safety, then do it that way, and then they'll approve it. But you know, we don't believe that's the right procedure. There's case law that says to have a business district, you gotta have businesses on both sides of the street, and your Lake Road fails that, and so does your Route 83. If I was on council, that's what I would do. I would authorize a speed study, get it done, do the studies, and get ODOT to approve it, rather than bickering about it and just being stubborn and ignoring it. I want to talk about the school board meeting that I attended. There were about 100 plus angry residents who were very disappointed that issue 15 and 16 failed. My topic was probably abnormal. I talked about the TIF. I gave a handout to the board members and the superintendent and the treasurer, and I explained to them, I gave them my chart with the orange, and I explained to them that what's going to come before them, you know, they're going to have to make a big decision as far as the financial future of that school district and whether or not they want to give $60 million away for a TIF. 30 of it is going to the city for a park, and for improvements. And, you know, that's nice. I hear everybody, the mayor and everybody says, that's great, the city's not paying for it. But as I told the school board, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're taking money from the school district, 30 million minimum, and you're giving it to the city. So they gave me a round of applause. Next, I want to talk about the CIC. I asked for minutes for the CIC. I got partial list of minutes. I got 15 different minutes for the CIC. Within those minutes, I could look and see when they approved minutes, okay, at that meeting, but I didn't get those minutes. Also, I could see in those minutes where they proposed meetings in the future, and I don't have meeting minutes. So I got a completely deficient request to my public records. You know, I'm looking at the CIC. It's very loosely run. It's not organized. It's not organized very correctly. It's loosey-goosey, and you need to straighten that up. The last time I want to talk about is the so-called rogue Brownfield Committee that was established in 12/10/21, 6-0 vote. It's got 5 members: Mr. Luca, Davis, Bucci, Perry, and Browse. You know, Mr. Bucci and Perry, I believe they've been involved in the city government in one capacity or another. They may have been council people. But, you know, I asked for Brownfield meeting minutes. Well, there aren't any, okay? Just like the CIC has incomplete meeting minutes, you're violating the Sunshine Law. You're obligated to promptly prepare meeting minutes for meetings. We already are slow on our council meetings. I mean, we're not up to date on those. But the Brownfield doesn't have anything. I was told there isn't any. But yet, you know, I know for a fact that on December 6, 2022, there was a conference call with the CIC Brownfield Committee, okay? And I also know that on November 4, 2022, there was a Brownfield Committee meeting and certain people attended it, okay? On January 9th, 2023, there was a Brownfield Committee and it was attended, okay? Where are those meeting minutes, okay? February 2nd, 2023, you know, attended Brownfield Committee. Where are they? Where are they? The so-called Brownfield Committee, they parade up here, Mr. Browse, Mr. Luca, and they pontificate that they're members, okay? Not like the law director says, it's just some group of citizens that are just meeting. That's a bunch of BS. They were appointed as a committee, part of the CIC, and you're not keeping meeting minutes. Those meetings are supposed to be public. They're not announced. Nobody can attend them. You're violating the Sunshine Law, the Public Records Law, and everything else. So you better get your act together, okay? And Mr. Ebert, I believe Mr. Zimmerman warned you that this is going to end up very ugly in litigation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Any topic?
Can't do
Hey, you
that.
can't do
It's
that.
a violation of the Sunshine Law right there. You can't discuss things. It's supposed to be open meeting. Everything has to be.
Mr. Zimmerman, I can speak to the mayor anytime, okay? Yes, I can.
No, it's illegal.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So we have a law director, and the law director gives legal opinion and legal advice to our mayor and to other members of council, versus if we speak amongst ourselves. Council clerk, there are times I need to speak to her to, excuse me, sir, I'm speaking, and we haven't started your time yet, so you're not being cheated on any time. I need to speak to her to make sure that I have paperwork that I have, because sometimes our papers do become shuffled. Any other discussion should not be taking place. You're correct. Are you ready?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to say that that's illegal. They shouldn't ever be doing it, and we will sue.
Are you
I'm
ready?
ready. William
Thank
Zimmerman.
you, sir.
So to get to Mr. Costas' points about the whole thing. Mr. Phillips is correct. Do a study. Do it the right way. Then you don't have to worry about us. You don't have to worry about us checking. You don't have to worry about anything, because ODOT will do their job. My biggest problem isn't the fact that you want to do this now. I want to know why it hasn't been looked at for 60 years. When was it changed to 25 originally down wonderful Avon Belton? And as far as the study in regards to accidents and all of that, it's the most traveled area in the city. So you're probably going to have more accidents because you have more people frequenting the intersection. To me, I don't understand what the problem is. In Avon, they got 45 miles an hour over the tracks on 83. They've got as many businesses as anybody up and down that stretch. I've asked for records from them. Police department says they can't find anything about accidents. So there aren't any? I don't know. So to justify speed as the only reason, I don't believe that that's factual. So I find it interesting, again, as I've indicated earlier today in the earlier meeting that Mr. Schmier chaired, that I had brought Mr. Arnold a document asking for records. I asked for CIC minutes, and I asked for Brownfield minutes. The one that Mr. Phillips has just said. Guess what? The gig's up. I'm going to ask for Mr. Arnold's resignation because he's involved in this waist deep. We will be glad to provide you with documentation to show you that the Brownfield Committee has been in existence for, like he said, since 21. And that he's been coordinating with them. This is the part of the collusion that I've been talking about. You guys need to understand that people have been working together behind the scenes. The Brownfield Committee would be one of them. I think that there should be an independent third party to investigate Mr. Arnold, the Brownfield, and the CIC. So we can get to the bottom of what's really going on. I make several investigations into the TIF drawings in regards to the red line districts. It's changed multiple of times. Why is that? People want to include things, they want to exclude things, they want to expand it, they want to make it bigger. Oh, we can get this, we can get that. Where's the $300,000 that the Brownfield got as a grant? You know where it is? It's with Avon Lake Water Regional. Because you guys commingle funds. You use the same tax ID. So I don't understand how that can be. These are two separate entities. And as I've indicated up on Lake Road, you're trying to include 425 feet of land that the Avon Lake Water Regional is on to classify it a business district. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't fit that way. Once you come to the intersection of more, you have to start counting again. I think you know that. All of you should know that. All of you should have acted on the speed limit issue for a long time. You've been here 20 years almost, maybe more. I don't even know for sure. Just like Mr. Cause. Just like Mr. Zuber. And yet nobody's ever spoken up about it. So when did the speed limit get changed from 35 to 25? That's in that district now that you're trying to make it a business district. Somebody's got to have, Mr. Zuber, please don't. We just made comments about that not being able to be done.
I can talk to my colleague anytime
Really?
I
Is
want.
that true, Mr. Ebert? That's
No,
true during
it's not
an
true.
open meeting when I'm up here at the podium?
It's not true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do our research. We're not ignorant. It's a bad place here in Avon Lake. I've lived here for over 60 years. I've never seen it so bad. But I didn't pay attention before. Maybe I was just missing it. Because I wasn't here when Urban was here, and Hasrad, Mr. Zuber was mayor. But I know Mr. Zilka's involved, and he'll get his turn in court. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to have any comments this evening? Okay, do we have any other business that anybody would like to share? Mr. Cos?
Yeah, thank you. Toys for Tots campaign is continuing on in the city of Avon Lake. We are collecting new unwrapped and new unopened and unwrapped toys at the following locations: Avon Lake City Hall, Avon Lake Fire Department, which is an all-hours drop-off if you can't make regular business hours, and the Avon Lake Public Library. So we are collecting through the Monday, the December the 9th, I believe it is, whatever that is. Yes, we'll be collecting through there. If anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me. My contact information is on the city website. D as in David, KOS at avonlake.org. But we are collecting new unwrapped, unused, and new toys. And a reminder that everything collected from the city of Avon, from donations to Toys for Tots here in Lorain County, in Avon Lake, stays in Lorain County. Nothing goes outside of the county or to other parts of the state. Every dime that is donated, every toy that is donated, stays in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Any comments to make? If not, I do. We're back to the holiday season again, and Greening of Avon Lake is coming up. And this year, there's going to be a little bit of a change with Greening of Avon Lake. They're going to be making table displays. There's a fresh garland that's going into these table displays, and fresh garland going into the wreaths. And they're going to be pre-made, and you can pick them up at the Lake House on Wednesday, December the 4th, from 3 until 7 p.m. That's at Veterans Memorial Park. They also have bags of holiday greens that can be picked up. They're very large bags. They've all been washed and sorted. And each of these items is only $25 a piece. And the proceeds are going to benefit Friends of the Park, and they're giving their donation toward ALPS. Thank you. Any questions about this particular project called Greening of Avon Lake? Seeing none, we need a motion, Mr. Cos, to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Mrs. Ross Marin, the roll.
Mr. Zuber.
Yes.
Mr. Arnold.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Mr. Shamir.
Yes.
Thank you. The meeting has been adjourned.